Good evening and welcome back. It is another Saturday night. We'll wait for a few folks to get on board here. So thanks for showing up, whoever does this evening. I'll turn on the comments over here. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and see who is able to get to the stream this evening and see who isn't. I'm wearing this jacket that I don't even want on, so I'm going to take it off. I should have had it off before I even started. So it's good to have everybody on board this evening. You probably will see the title as you tune in. We're going to be talking a little bit about prepping and preparedness, but tonight we're going to do it in a different sort of way. So whoever is going to tune in, like I said, looks like we might have one person watching. So sometimes folks come in a little bit late, sometimes they don't. But whoever comes in, turn my little heat on there. So we're already a very professional start to the program this evening. There's a lot of different ways you can look at preparing. For those who are going to watch later, and let me get that out of the way now. For those who are watching now and those who are watching down the road later on, I appreciate your time as I always do. But the Bible talks about preparing. People talk about preparing, but people talk about it on many different levels, and they have different ideas of what preparedness should look like, what preparation should look like. And I think we have to look at it in different ways, whether you're saved or unsaved. You have to look at things the right way. Now, being said with saved and unsaved, there's going to be a difference there, because if you're saved, you have less concerns, but still you have worries. If you're unsaved, well, you got a whole bunch of problems there. We have to realize how preparedness works in this time frame. There are people who are hoarding up ammunition like you wouldn't believe, rifles and ARs and pistols like you wouldn't believe. And now I'm not anti having weapons. Please don't misunderstand me. They're hoarding up food like you wouldn't believe. Not the last 30 years. In my belief, well, I don't think we're going to be here for 30 years. Well, I definitely won't be here in 30 years, most likely. But we have to look at this. If you're a Christian, look at this in a biblical fashion. How does this work as a Christian? Not everyone, and I'm guaranteeing you, not everyone can prepare the exact same way. And I believe not everyone is called on to prepare. Good evening, brother. It's great to have you on board this evening. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, as always. I already started talking. I just jumped on in. Folks can catch up, I guess, later on. Maybe I should wait longer for folks to pop in. But it is great to see you, and I hope everything is well up there. I don't know what the temperature is. I was going to look at the temperature, by the way, just in case you tuned in this evening, because I'm a little cold down here in Tennessee today. We got a little bit of cold snap, not super bad, but nothing you couldn't handle, brother. Up there, we can handle it a little bit better, but down here, I had to turn on that little heater again. Eventually, Jorge, I'm going to have you come down, brother, because I got to get up a wall. I got to fix the wall, the shed in here. I still haven't got around to it. You know what an expert carpenter I am. Okay, not so much. You've seen some of my handiwork. But like I was saying before, all of us cannot prepare in the same fashion. And I think people are looking at people or down upon people if they haven't prepared properly or what they deem is the proper way to prepare. I think the only one that has the right to judge that is God. I really don't think that. I know that, obviously. But we all can't do the same exact thing. So tonight I kind of brought in a few props. For one, I'm going to use my dad's chicken. For folks who can't do certain prepping and don't have the time and ability to do prepping, don't have the money to do it as well prepping. And I'll get to what we do here and what we are working on and what we're trying to do. But I want to try not to make it all about me, but I want to talk about what's out there. And what my father does is he has 7 days in a week. He's a very regimented man. Older folks they just get stuck in this thing. They do the same thing over and over again, kind of like a lot of Christians sometimes. And he buys these cans of chicken. He buys 8 because he keeps 1 extra just in case. So every week when I bring him to the grocery store, I got to go over there because I carry all the stuff, obviously, because of, some of he's, later on age, later on years, has some issues going on. But so when I bring my father to the grocery store, and again, this is for people who don't have the money like other people do, or don't have the area to prep like others do. I go sidetracked sometimes, but it's amazing how often people judge other people's ways of prepping and telling them they're either way too prepared or underprepared. I think there are something people are way too prepared, but my biggest concern is God is the absolute ruler of your preparedness. You must pray always. I think it's in Luke 21:36. It says something about that. I'll have to look. I wrote it down, actually. I'm not going to pretend like I just recalled that from the back of my brain. People like to do that. I like to pretend they just knew it off the top of their head. Some do. Some are good at it. But anyways, so he buys these chickens. He buys 8 a week, 7 days a week. He's got the 1 extra. So he puts that 1 extra. And I would advise for folks who don't have the ability. Some raise little kids. Some have children. Some have low income. And you put that 1 can aside, and you're able to keep that. And use it every week. He buys 8. Well, I got to bring him, like I said, down to the grocery store. Buys 8 for a 7-day week. A little, a little, a little, a little. And a little adds up once you put it away. Maybe you hide it in your closet, wherever you may be, because not everybody can go out and try to start a homestead and have a little homestead like we're trying to do here. Not everybody is able to do that. We have been amazingly blessed, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I deserve it. I really don't, and I am incredibly grateful and thankful that we've been blessed to be here. Even though sometimes I complain because, well, that's what guys like to do. We like to complain, we like to throw clothes on the floor and think it's hilarious. I don't know if I have any personal experience with that. Just kidding. But we all can't be in that situation. So if you can take this and one aside, that's being prepared. And I'm going to go to, and why I mentioned that first is I'm going to go to the scripture real quick, if I can, if you don't mind. I believe it's in Luke 21. I'll probably be wrong, but I don't have my page open to it. But we need to be prepared. We need to be ready, Okay, here we go. But some are prepared. Let's see if I can read that. I just wrote down a note I made. Now I'm just reading my notes online. I forget what scripture it is, and I apologize. I should have had it written down. But the point is we pray, and we count on God. God knows if we're being prepared with what we can prepare with. When God sees that, he is going to be there for you. He is going to help you through those troubled times. If you do nothing at all, then, why would God help someone who's not doing anything at all? That doesn't make any sense. But who are you preparing for, too? There are some who can only prepare for their family and their children themselves. Doesn't make them greedy. It just makes they can only handle themselves the best they can. And if they got extra, yes, should they help others? Absolutely. But that doesn't happen either. Now, that was the cans. And like I said, for those who have trouble, that's how you prepare. And, like I said, tonight's prop night. And this is kind of spam. No, I didn't just go buy this. We have these. We have, I don't know how many cases of it we have, to be honest with you. I want to say maybe 8 cases of this stuff. And again, we're not preparing for a zombie apocalypse. I mean, I love that's how everybody attacks these things. That's not what we're preparing for. And we didn't go buy it all in one shot. We bought a little here, a little there, and we added it up. Now, there are those now, and we have been blessed in a situation to be at another certain level. Again, preparedness, some folks are at different levels. There are people out there who are already on the ball. They got a homestead going. They're living off their land. They're doing well. I'm not kidding. I have a guy building a chicken coop, but I don't want to talk about him yet until I get permission to mention him. But he's he's amazing. I'll tell you what, the way he's living, I think, is absolutely astonishing. But I don't, until I get to know him and get permission to use his example, I wouldn't do that. Jorge, you never know, I might not use you, Jorge. But another level here is, I'll grab these first. So these are canned potatoes. I know sounds like it's going to be one of them homesteaded canning videos, but it's really not, I promise. These are what my wife does. She, do these potatoes, cuts them up, chops them up, cans them. And then we have the chicken. These only have like 8 more months ago, I think. But this is a chicken that she also canned up. Now, some folks have the ability to do that. We've been blessed to do so. But here's the thing. We can't do these things for ourselves. Some of us are put in a position. So you may be able to only have 3 chickens. If that's what God has you prepare for, those 3 chickens, God is going to make that work out because you have prayed and asked for his guidance and preparation. This is what God says, this is what you need. And I'm going to make it work. And then there'll be someone out there who goes, you need 20 chickens. I'm like, Lord, why do we need 20 chickens? I use 20 because I want 20 meat birds in my backyard. That's why I said 20. But I didn't say God told me to get 20. I'm just saying. But you may be in position 20. Why would you need those meat birds? And I was talking to my wife, and I said to her, I didn't want all the meat bird chicken. We have a decent little piece of land. It ain't huge. It ain't a lot, but sometimes you don't need a lot. And then the chicken that we aren't going to use, there are people we can give it to. Our neighbors, not our neighbors over here, but our Christian brothers and sisters in neighborhoods. I'd like to build a chicken, but then I have to think about the foxes and coyotes. Yeah, so, okay. So for people who watch me, I don't mention weapons. I don't get into that because I think it's absolutely insane when men put, especially Christian men, when they show their guns and and that type of stuff. But I will say, which I don't have right over there. So for the yard, for the foxes, and this is why I have this particular weapon. This is what I have over here is a Savage Arms 22 long rifle. It's just a 22 for the yard small game for coyotes and foxes in case that happens. The next step in our yard is we're going to be putting a fence. I didn't want to make this about me, but this is kind of what we're doing. So we're going to get the fence up around the perimeter and finish that off, just wire and pole fencing, and to stop that. And then we will get a couple of dogs. We have to and goats and stuff like that. But yeah, that can be a concern, and then you can prepare. But you can have a chicken coop with a chicken run. You could probably build it yourself, brother, because you're just amazing at your job. This is what you do, But you can build it, and you get the wire mesh underneath and overhead with the roof on top. I talk as if I know what I'm talking about. Done a lot of research on it, but I haven't done a lot of building of it. But which is why we have this a Christian gentleman we found here in town, and that's going to play into what I was talking about before about helping your neighbor. Well, you're helping your brothers and sisters in Christian neighborhoods of local people. If they're Christian, and that's who you're supposed to help at all times. And somebody's going to say, oh, that's unbelievable, selfish. Why wouldn't you help any stranger? We do that too, but that's a different conversation. But that can be a problem. That was a long-winded response to that. But yeah, that can be an issue with the foxes and coyotes and raccoons too. You get those animals. And then you have to worry about down here. Well, we got hawks up I say we got hawks up in New England. I'm not from New England anymore. You got hawks up there and so forth that can swoop down and get your animals at that point in time. So that can be a large concern. What I was going to talk about is Luke 21:36. We're talking about Proverbs. I think it's important to understand how to prep it. And those that can, so we have different levels of preparation and what we're supposed to do and how we can help one another. And this is why I harp a lot on fellowship, and I just online only fellowship. And I'm blessed with everybody I do know here online, and I'm thankful for my brothers and sisters that I do know. But we tend to get in this little cocoon, this little bubble of only online. And I know it's hard to find some people And depending on the area of which you live in, it's a little more difficult to find people, or your circumstances is as so, Jorge, you should just move down here. We welcome you down here in a heartbeat. But we're around areas that we can't go far. You could be in a small town in the middle of nowhere, so your area of finding someone's a little smaller, but that shouldn't deter you from completely looking. Now, much different if you're a parent, parents who have children. It's different if you're even a single parent, and somebody goes, "Oh, single Christian parent, how could that be?" Those people are ignorant, and they need to be taught biblical lessons and on that, because life happens, unfortunately, and those things come along. No man is innocent, I can tell you that. But you have to create this community, because Bible-believing communities can't completely help each other if it's only online. Now, we can help each other in talking and thoughts and sharing ideas and things like that, but there's also a physical component to that. I think that gets overlooked. I'm going to just read 21:36. See if I can get to it fast enough. I'm looking as fast as I didn't have it prepared in front of me. I know some people do, some people don't. I never know what Bible I have with me that I'm reading at the time, because I have multiple King James Bibles. Calm down, not just multiple random Bibles. Luke 21, verse 36. Watch ye therefore and pray always. Remember, we talked about praying last week. Always keep praying, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. But here's the problem. Some are concerned with their escape, and they believe it's too late for anyone else to escape, or they feel they alone are worthy. Now, there are certain men out there, not just one or two, there's more than there's multiple out there to teach us. I'm like, hey, listen, sorry, too late. Man, it's too late. I ain't doing the gospel tracks anymore. I'm not going out there anymore. We're on the end times. It's over. It's over. Okay, I'm sure that pleases God that you weren't up to the very end trying. But that's my opinion on that. But we need to be praying always. Many are worried about themselves. So what is missing? Where is basically the tangible community? There has to be a tangible community, a physical one, not just by letter or by contact. The internet's not always going to be here. It's here for a little while, but it's not going to be here forever. They'll shut it down. I know FCC's working on things like that. I know, and yes, I get into all that stuff. George Soros and so forth has bought, I think, a company called Odyssey to control news media and what content goes on, what goes off, and how to all that stuff. So, will the internet be regulated? Maybe. Will it be regulated in our time? I don't know. Could be. I think a lot of people are forgetting things. They're so vigilant. And they're like, no, we got to watch for the end times. We have to watch for certain events. We have to watch for these events. And even people who are not saved, some people who are kind of agnostics, but some people who well, I can just wait. When I see it's getting close, I think that's when I'm going to turn to God. Well, I don't mean to be crude or rude, but what about Kansas City? Now, I'm sure a lot of you heard about the shooting in Kansas City. What about the Joel Osteen folks there? What about the Tennessee police officer just got slain the other day? I don't know. Maybe he was prepared. Police officers usually. But they're not prepared for that day. I don't want to get morbid now, but they're not prepared for that day. We're all always worried about the pre-trib and when it's coming. But you may die before that pre-trib. And you may not be prepared. And you have failed to prepare for what may happen. Like, I got time. And then time runs out. I think it's in Proverbs. It talks about the foolish and the wise man. The wise man prepares for his food. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I'd have to look that up real quick. I don't remember how it really says. Actually, Proverbs. I'm going to look it up now, if you don't mind hanging on with me. Proverbs 20, I think it's 23 or 22. Hold on a second. See, I'm telling you to hold on. Again, live and on the air. Wasn't prepared for certain scriptures, but, sometimes you got to bring them out when needed. And that's the thing, too, about I use that in witnessing and stuff like that. Which scriptures do you use? How many scriptures do you use? 22. Let's see, 22. Okay. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. There are men right now who are hiding themselves. There are people right now who are hiding themselves with real, no meaningful connection outside their homes. And there are men who are inside their homes. Doesn't mean they're hiding themselves, but they have lives there. So a lot of people spend a lot of time attacking people and what they should and shouldn't do and how they should be. Well, this is how you should be a Christian. This is how you should. Now, there are standards. Please don't misunderstand. There are standards. But people just assume because they're unbelievably godly and they don't have to go through certain things. Well, this is, I think I'll steal kind of that old comment we were talking about last week and well, that's not how I would do it. That is many a Christian. Whether you're watching internet preachers or you're in an actual building, doesn't matter. That is what's there. And don't be fooled by that. Both sides are so hypocritical. They both are full of hypocrites, either side. So I've watched over the few years, 4 or 5 years now, that whole thing of people who refuse to go into church buildings. And they have, believe me, they have a lot of valid points. But again, it's not discernment. They're completely cutting off everything. And that's a shame because it creates division. It creates hate, unneeded division, unbiblical division. And that becomes a problem, becomes a real problem. I thought we were talking about prepping here. I got to go a little off here. But some of these people, and there's no fellowship. And we have being prepared. So if you've got one brother down the road who's in Christ who does chickens and stuff like that, cuts them up and so forth, and that's not something you're as well as that, but there's something else you do. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. That is being prepared. That's growing off your own land. God will provide you what you need. You do not need a bunker. You know who needs the bunker? Those who are going to be going through the wrath of God and being the hellfire being poured down upon them, going through everything under the sun. Yeah, they're going to need a bunker, but I'm not worried about a bunker. I'm just worried about being ready for God. And the return of Jesus who will come, that's what I'm prepared for. Now, some people are like, well, I mean, if you're prepared for the Lord, He'll just protect you through anything. What do you even bother even preparing for food for? You got those Christians too. Like, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to go through anything. Really? Explain that to the Christians of World War II that you're not going to prepare because you won't live through something. Or World War I. Explain that to them. Don't worry, don't be prepared. You're good. It's sad when you see that out there, but we need to be prepared. Now, like I said, for us, we got the coop going in next week. We got the chickens arriving in the first week of March. We got a lot of things on the plate. We just got some more buckets and stuff like that for gardening out there and the homestead. We'll have probably about 40 different ones from what I can understand, and it's not as expensive. Well, it'd be expensive if you win one rep and not other. The whole Bible teaches you all the time. The Bible is always about being prepared. The Bible teaches you not to be foolish, be wise. We're always needing to be prepared. The Bible is full of information. It tells you on every level preparedness. But again, we have those different types of preppers out there. Those who are armed to the teeth. And again, I am not against firearms at all. And I don't like talking about it online, but I just did talk about the that one small rifle that I have for the outside, and I have a few. But I don't go showing them up on camera and all that other stuff, and or like, look at me, I got a gun, that nonsense. God, no offense to the Baptists out there, but that is such a Baptist thing. That is a Baptist thing. Make sure some of these fiery Baptist preachers on the internet and elsewhere, the fiery ones, the ones who are like, now I'm going to get some pushback of some Baptist people, but I'm like, always about the guns. Always about the gun. I'm good. I got my guns, and I make sure people know I got a gun. So preachers who do that probably have a Baptist leaning, in my opinion. Go to the ant. That's like, I did. I saw that one. I did see that one yesterday. I think it was. I was looking at that. Yeah, Proverbs 6. There's Proverbs 22 is a decent one too. Did I read that one? I probably did. Yeah, Proverbs 6. I'm going to go to Proverbs 6 right now. Absolutely. We'll go right now. Proverbs 6. And I don't know what verse it's in, though. It talks about the whole thing, the ant. To go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How we can continue. How long wilt thou, did I just put you off screen? Sorry. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? How many people are sleeping now? How many people are just zombies? And there are people, believe it or not, there are preachers who are sleeping while they don't look like they're actually sleeping. They're teaching these things which I don't understand. You're teaching nothing of preparing. You're not teaching anything of practical use in the world. And I wonder why that is. Why do these and I say internet preachers because they're both inside the church buildings and on the internet. They're all over the place. There's more and more actually popping up, but they're all over the place. They teach you all about, and don't get me wrong, understanding and learning the Bible and different verses and learning them and so forth and on is a wonderful thing, and chapters, and it's great. But then there's no application. There's no understanding of where to go. Oh, sorry. Let me pull that up. I didn't see that. Proverbs 26:14, as the door turneth upon his hinge, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The Lord has humor. Yes, he does. Indeed, he does. His hinges. It's got a squeak to it, too, I think. What was I talking about? I couldn't even remember. You know me. I get off course there sometimes. But they preach about these things, and I talked to my wife for months upon months about this, and where is the practicality of things? Where is what is actually people going through? Where is that discussion? Where is and I will never ever condemn anyone for reading the Bible and studying the scriptures and doing verse by verses and chapters by churches and verse by verse. I think those things are awesome and they're wonderful. But that's all puffed up knowledge you have. The Bible talks about puffed up knowledge of the world, but that's puffed up knowledge of the scripture as well. But you have nothing of real substance to offer other than you just repeat the lines, but you don't really put them into play. And I know many, many sinful preachers who understand this Bible. Over the years, I've seen many of them they know it inside out. And then you look at their lives and you really listen. They don't know how to live their lives. They don't know how to teach real living in the world. Now, I'm not in any way suggesting that I'm some expert on it. But I will say this, if I'm following someone, and you should follow God only, but if you're following channels out there, I would suggest you pick people who have been in the world and understood what it's like to live day by day as a born-again Christian. I think that's why I created this channel, but creating the BAC Network as well. It bothers me. Even well-meaning preachers just don't seem to get it. And you lose a lot of people who are seeking. But then again, people are not really seeking. If it works for them, it works for them. But it's not going to work in the end. If you can't deal in the real world, if you can't deal with being out there and having all that around you, that you've got to keep on walking that path, you got to swallow sometimes your pride, and you got to keep on rolling. You can't do that. How are you going to be, as some of these gentlemen like to be, a martyr for God? You are not going to be a martyr for anybody. You can't handle the outside world. You can't handle going to work. I'm not going to work with them people. A bunch of sinners and a bunch of people like that. I will not work for. No, I'll be my own boss. In fact, I'll create my own situation. Unless you're going to create your own store. No, I can't follow other men. So you can't follow a system that puts in place that the Bible has there. I don't know. I'm an epistles guy, but not in the way that's being used today. But the pastoral epistles. I mean, yeah, I know I said pastor. People are going to say, "Oh, pastor's not in there." Well, it's mentioned once in Ephesians, but I'm not going to get into the whole shepherd, pastor, and all that. People kind of take those things and kind of mess them up to fit their own narratives. But you're going to have people out there do it, and you can't stop it. And it pains me sometimes to see people listen to folks that are just way off the kilt, and you know they are. They sound good, but you know that they are. But you got to let it go. You got to let it happen. I think people, real born again Christians, real saved people, will see through some of that, and they'll finally get to a point that it might be a month from now, it could be a year and a month from now, and they'll see through and go, something doesn't add up. And they're always afraid to ask the questions. You ever notice that? Well, I don't know. I don't want to get in personal lives and ask them if they've ever worked for a living, if they've ever done this for a living, if they've ever done this, that, and the other, if they've ever been married before, all these things. And if you do on some of them, they won't answer you. They will either talk around it or, well, I don't really like to get into those things, or it's not really important to this study right now. And they will deflect. They will deflect. Now, I'm not proud of everything I've done in my lifetime, but I don't hide it either. I won't hide it. And you shouldn't. Because what you did is what you did. It's not what you're doing. Where you're going is this direction, or I should say that direction. But that's what matters the most. And if you can't be honest about who you were when someone asks you, so they can look at that, go, hey, listen, wow, you went through that. That means I can go recover from the same stuff. I can recover from that and go in that direction. If you can do it, I can do it. And that gives hope to somebody else, whether it be me or anybody else. But see, that's the problem. Nobody wants to be that hope. Nobody wants to be the light and show them the Lord. I'm talking about the light on earth, not the light that we all have to guide them to, which is the Lord. We have to understand that people sin, people make mistakes, people have gone through things, people have gone through more unimaginable things than other people have gone through, and they've come to the Lord, and they should be blessed by it. They should be, I guess maybe the only time you could be proud of something, but to be proud of that. Don't run from that. Don't deflect from that. Don't say, I don't want to talk about those things in my past. Well, why would you not want to? I understand some things you want to leave untouched, but if you're going to put yourself out there in a preacher, and if you're going to delete people's comments, and I've seen that happen out there, and you're going to refuse to answer people because you don't want to answer those people, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. Now, I know sometimes it's not easy to answer certain questions, but dude, you made the channels. You put yourself out there. And that includes me. I've got some things that are uncomfortable. I think there are things maybe a few things I wouldn't really talk about online. It would be I'd talk in private and email or something like that. By the way, I should do one of those commercials. By the way, my email is, and so we insert the plug, Everyday Man of God. By the way, I don't know if she's watching right now, but there's an Emma Jane, and she sent me a comment for an email. Emma, if you watch this video now or later, I tried to respond to you of your question, and it wouldn't let me. I don't know. I clicked on your name. It wouldn't let me enter it. So if you watch this video, try to send me another email, and I'll try to answer. I'm another inbox thingamajig on YouTube. But I should link it down there, everydaymanofgod@gmail.com. So I did not, speaking of people you don't answer, I didn't ignore you. I couldn't get into the thing. But how do we move forward How do we help people prep for their lives? How do they prep to their yards? How do their garden? How do they prep for their canning goods in their area? Everybody has something good they're good at. I repeat, I am not good at canning. And I don't desire to be good at canning. So my wife does a wonderful job with that. My job are other things, So that's when I talk about I want to take a different approach to I just want to look at the time. Wow, we're only 35 minutes into this. Okay. When I said I want to take a different approach to this or a different viewpoint, we have to understand how much prepping God wants us to do, what we need to do to prep. We pray. We continuously pray. And Lord, what do you want me to do? He'll open the doors and say, hey, you'll be like, I think I want all of that to prepare. That's what I should probably get. And then and you'll have to impute it into you. Nope, it's not what I need you to get. Actually, I need you to go over here and get this. Like, I don't want that though. But you're getting it anyways. No, and we've done the rice and stuff like that. There are common things that a lot of preppers do. We did and do. Sugar, flour, rice. Rice is not healthy for you. I know that, but it works as a filling. So there's a prepper. A lot of Christians believe that they're just going to miss out on everything. They're not going to struggle at all. For years, I've seen this. Pentecostals are good at that. And Pentecostals were really great at going, oh, I'm out before anything bad happens. And then you got Baptists and Catholics and go, oh, don't worry about it. I'm going to martyr myself. I'm going to fight. Which I never understood Baptists, because Baptists, if you're premillennial, what are you fighting? And the Catholics some Catholics are like, oh yeah, I'm a martyr for God. Don't you worry about it. I'll get through this. Oh yeah. And those are the people that are dying to have the ability to use violence finally. It's too bad. It's unfortunate. But let's look at those people who aren't able to prep as well. What is it you can do? And that's why I always believe in a physical, tangible Christian, born-again Christian community outside of the realm of the computer. And I'm not knocking anyone here. I thank you, brothers and sisters, who tune into these. So I don't want you to feel like I don't want you ever to tune in or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. Because what I will talk about down the road, you could perhaps be part of it underground Christian railroaders. I talked about that a long time ago. I did even a video on Joseph being a prepper, and he was prepared. Noah was prepared. Why were they prepared? They had faith. God said they believed in God. They listened to God. They had faith in God, and they were prepared. And all those people who died out there, they were not prepared. They were not prepared. They didn't know it was coming until it came. So whatever it is that comes, be prepared. Maybe you won't see much of the bad time. I don't know. Or maybe you will see a lot of bad times. Certain areas have already gone through or going through. World War II, I talked about that. You got China and people on the ground there. You have New Zealand with the crop. Look at the crop shortages going on now and the farming issues and so forth. You see all that going on. How long will it last? I don't think we're all going to die next year. I know there's a lot of Christians going, this is the year. This is the year. And I hear that a lot. I'm sure a lot of people who watch this video, you've heard the same thing a lot of times. This is the year. This is the year. This is the year. We don't know. We don't know the time nor the hour. We do not know. But I always will say this. Be prepared to be gone now. We're not leaving right now this very minute, but be prepared for now. And be prepared for 20. Be ready to go now, but be prepared to go in 20. Not minutes, but years. And again, there are all those little things that you can do to be prepared. I know at one point, we knew the economy was going to tank. It was written on the wall, really. And what we had done is bought clothing at the Salvation Armies because we're super, rich people, and we're really an elite, part of the elite crowd. We got shirts, shoes, pants that were a few years ahead, a few sizes above our kids. So preparing ahead of time, trying to get those. And we've fallen off of that and went in different directions, but we got to get back to that preparing ahead of time, because it may not be there again. It might be harder at one point to get clothes. we have to be prepared for all those things. We really do. It's not all about building a bunker underground. I know that's a popular thing to do, and I thought about it years and years ago when bunkers weren't even a popular thing. Putting a bunker underground, loading up in ammunition and weapons. Again, I have weapons. Don't like saying it online, but for this particular video, I will say it. That's prepared. Now we go out there and we prepare for other things. Brothers and sisters, if you pray, if you let God be your guide, you will be prepared. And he will lead you in the directions. He will lead you to the right places to get the right things. I wasn't sure I was going to prepare the chicken coop and the chicken pen. Wasn't sure I was going to do that. Thought, well, how am I going to get that done? Like, I don't want to buy something made from China. Oh, wait, I think you're supposed to say China. I guess that's a new way of saying it. But how was I going to pull that off? You pray. So we prayed. My wife prayed, I prayed, and she actually came across somebody on the Facebook there. I don't have the Facebook at the moment. Who was some sort of a carpenter down the way, Christian. I know another Christian man, and I was going to go through him, but for some reason, I felt we should go in this direction. I met the man, shook his hand. I just a good guy. I liked him, and did things the old-fashioned way. There was no contract. We didn't sign a contract. It was just two Christian men shook hands and agreed. So he came out and did that. I might go to him in the future for some certain fencing needs, but that's what we do for how we should be being prepared. Everyone has to prepare differently. Everyone has the different means. We all can't just go out, like I said, and buy all these canning jars and so forth and do these things and buy these cans. Although the people that are getting all the offering and tithing in churches and stuff like that, then they probably are doing well for themselves. They can go out and get these things. But when you work for a living, when you work for your meat, you have to struggle. You have to plan. You have to figure out what it is you're going to do. You've always got to be thinking about what the next step is. What is my next move? What is the next thing I need to buy? What is the next direction? I believe the Bible, and I'm going to talk about fellowship in a live stream, I think, down the road about fellowship, but I can't help. And Brother Jorge, you're throwing stuff up out there, and I didn't even notice. I prayed to God and asked him to be my financial advisor. I did exchange some of my dollars for silver. It's easy to start to be covetous with this. Yes. So something to be careful with. I absolutely agree. There's Jorge, I'll say for you because you know who I'm talking about. And this person has taught some decent things, don't get me wrong. But maybe I should have contacted this guy's channel. I don't know. But I was like, I'm going to leave it be. But he had this piece of gold and shows it on camera and had it in his mouth or whatever. Oh, gold and stuff like that. And I get worried about that. That's why I talk about the gun things. I'm not holding up my gun. Look, I'm prepared with a gun. I've got the gold and silver. That's not, I don't find that a biblical approach. Now, if you want to talk to people on side, by the way, about silver, and we have silver in the house. We do possess silver. But you did a good job there buying silver. But God is going to, like you said, you prayed for financial advisement. God will prepare you for what you need. You just have faith and trust in God. I don't mean like the people say, I never bring my child to a doctor or ever. His leg is hanging off the hinge there, right? Yeah, I'm good. God will fix it. To a certain degree, I believe you don't need to go to doctors. I don't. I think God will take care of things if you pray. There is healing. I do believe in healing, not the healing that Benny Hinn and the rest believe in, and Sid Roth and so forth. I don't believe in that healing, the supernatural. No, I'm not into that. Grew up in that though. Grew up around that stuff. Yikes, these men were false. But any small thing that you can do to be prepared, even if you're giving advice to someone, even that's what a Christian community is about. I think people either want to be, appear to be very godly, but really have nothing to offer in life. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is, what about life day to day? And like you just did, you just took a few dollars that you had. Oh, it was more than a few dollars, it wasn't $3, but I think the going rate is like 26 or 27. I'm not 100% sure, but anyways, you just do a little at a time, because I do believe there might be a time that we will need silver. I don't really concern myself with the gold aspect of it. Gold will be so expensive to buy. And here's another thing: why are there preachers and pastors who don't work for a living, and yet they have gold and they have silver? I guess they're following the whole Oral Roberts and Kenneth Copeland stream of things of, we have gold and silver, have we? But that's not what the Bible says, does it? They didn't say it. They said they did not have gold and silver, but we have. And that's what these men are. When they show things, and I'm like, dude, if you're living off the tithing and the offerings of people out there, whether it be internet or in your church, wow, how wacky is that to like show that you have all this stuff? There are some preachers and pastors more well off and prepared than their congregants that they take money from. There are people who have more land from your money. They have silver and gold and weapons and guns and whatever they need because of your money, because of your donations, because of your tithing, because of your offerings. I will tell you right now, and I will not be ashamed to say this, I will probably eventually set something up with something for gospel tracts and Bibles if you want to help me out, or if you want to send me a bunch of them and I'll get them on the streets in about 2 seconds flat. Because if you watch me, I'm always going out there. Please do not take that as precocious as I know it sounds. But that's the kind of offering that these men should be taking. If you're like, yeah, just bought more Bibles. Not they paid their bills. They're not out there on the roads traveling like Paul was. When they sent money to Paul, they sent him things because he was out there. He was walking out there. He was traveling. Call it the early missionary, if you will. The Baptists love their missionaries. I'm not knocking any Baptist people. There are some fine Baptist people, but your denomination is messed up as well. But Paul was out there every day, and that's what that money was for. They were helping feed him. Even when he went town to town, they took him to his home. Are you willing to take somebody into your home? Are you willing to take someone into your home that's a Christian? Let me ask you that. And I know that's a tough thing to do. But I'm sure there are folks out there who are willing to take people into their house. And there's probably a lot of Christians who won't. Some will like, I don't know. And others will like, yeah. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a priest, a minister, internet preacher, a non-internet preacher. I don't care. I do not care who it is. If you're giving tithings and offerings to them, they should not be telling you how much gold, how much silver, how many guns, how much land they have. Number one, it's just precocious. And how awful is that to look down on people, to make them make them feel bad? I'm like, oh, I don't have all that. Okay, I think I reeled off enough on that. I get a little riled up on that, but it does bug me. There are a lot of guys who make themselves look godly and saintly, and they don't have a clue. They wouldn't even know how to handle things. They would run scared in a heartbeat. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a tough guy, but there are fake Christian tough guys, as I mentioned before, and it's sad. But we as a community need to be here together. We need to help one another through these things, not just by, hey, hope you're doing good. Yeah, no, we need that, but everybody needs us. The community needs prayers. It needs some are going to need food, somebody help in different areas, and they can help you in certain areas. And that's why I believe in not just the online community, which, excuse me, again, I am thankful for, but we have to look outside that online community. We have to start building outside. I'm not saying forsake the fellowship that you have and the friends that you've made on these channels, mine, anywhere else, wherever it may be. But there has to be a physicalness. We have to find. And there are going to be times, and there are times you will be alone, and people will say, well, I'd rather be alone than associate with non-Christians. I agree. Absolutely agree. I'd rather be alone than be with a bunch of false Christians all the time. But sometimes you have to be in places that have non-false Christians that are there because they had nowhere else to go. And those are the ones you have to make connections with. And you bring them out of there. And you bring another out. And you create that home church and that house church, so to speak. And people get church is not in the Bible. Let's just use the word for now so we don't get upset. Call it fellowship or assembly. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But that's what we need to build. And I know in this day and age, I get it. It's hard. Who do you trust? Who do you bring into your home? Who do you invite to your house? For me, I've had the good fortune to be able to have invited someone to my home. And because of that, I feel like I've gained a brother in Christ that I know, and it's wonderful. And we took that chance, although we didn't think it was a chance at the time. My wife and I was surprised when I went and spoke to my wife about this wonderful gentleman. I'm not going to mention his name because I didn't get his permission to put it online. But I asked my wife, I'd like to invite this person. And the first time my wife says, yes, you should do it. Okay, well, that wasn't a long conversation. It was a pretty quick one. Sometimes because I'll overanalyze. I'll like, I don't know, should we? I don't know. And but because of the love and mercy that she has in her heart, she's like, oh, absolutely. Like, all right, done deal. So, and I consider myself blessed to know that person. I absolutely do. And I'm very certain that they're watching this show, this program. So I'm very thankful for that. But we have the difficulty of failing to do those things too. Now, I'm not saying everybody I'm not condemning anyone that doesn't do it, like you're a failure. Well, they're called to do certain other things. But people who can should. It's been a while since I drank my water out of my mason jar here all night. Brother Jorge, I don't know if you're still watching or not, but you didn't tell me how cold it was up there yet. I was interested to know. And I think we may be coming up on an hour. I told you I'd take a different approach to this program. Yeah, I've got about 5 more minutes. Yes, we are in the end times. I do believe that. Now, I don't believe it in calling it like the there's an internet guy out there who's always been around a couple of times. I forget his name, but throughout time there's been people predicting the end. It's going to be 2024. It's going to be 2028. It's going to be 2027. It's going to be 2030, 2040, 2050. It's going to be 1988. It's going to be 1989. It's going to be 1990. It's going to be 81. It's going to be 1972. It's going to be 1907. This goes on and on. The list goes on. And by the way, once that person is wrong, you should probably separate from that person. If you know of someone doing it now, then because if the Bible doesn't do it, then how does that person do it? That's what we call in business a red flag. I don't know if that's a business, I'm just saying. But without the community, and man, I wish that all the people that I knew on here, I wish I could just go buy them a house nearby and say, come on down. The price is right. No, come on down. It would be nice if we could do that. It would be fantastic if we could do that. 19 degrees tonight. Oh my goodness, Jorge. I do not miss 19 degrees. I think tonight actually it's cold even down here. I think we're low 30s down here in good old McMinn County, even though it's the southern part of Tennessee, but it is cold. Hello, David from South. Hey, how you doing, brother? I haven't seen you. From South Carolina. My brother lives in South Carolina. He lives. I'm sure he loves too, but he lives over in Greenville, Spartanburg area. That's where he's at. I almost moved down. I was thinking about moving one time to Columbia. I think, yeah, West Columbia, South Carolina. I thought about that to be close to my brother, but that's not exactly a great neighborhood, so to speak. I'm trying. I think they get floods too down there. But thanks for joining. I'm sorry that I guess I can go longer if more people tune in, but I try to stay in an hour. But you can watch the beginning of it. Urban Forrest. Urban Forrest sounds like a man who knows how to work a little bit on prepping. I said man. I don't even know if you're a man. You are. You said David. Durr. I said Durr. See, now when in the 80s, we used the word Durr when we were a kid, in the 80s in middle school. But without that connection, and I'm in Charleston. Charleston is over by the dunes, I believe. I think that's over. Charleston's over by dunes, south of Myrtle, Myrtle Beach area, I believe. Now I could be wrong. Hey, this is awesome. I see the two of you talking, and this is beautiful. I don't know where you guys met before, but this is what I was hoping for: people connecting and talking to one another. Man, it's so it is on the coast. Beautiful out there. So I got to ask. Well, I shouldn't ask why you want to leave. That's your personal business. If you want to email me, you can. But South Carolina's got its issues. Nikki Haley. I'm just kidding. I had to go politics for just 1 second there. My brother is the same way. He was excited to move there when I drove him and moved him down there in January 1st. I'm starting my job Tuesday. I do not know anything about this job, but I'm just going to say that's awesome. I don't know anything about this, but that's awesome. I'm glad you're starting a new job on Tuesday. I know you're guys talking, so I shouldn't have put you up there, but that's awesome. But, so my brother moved to South Carolina. I know him off base here, Urban, but he's not happy down there. He doesn't want to be in South Carolina either. I was surprised. But you're welcome to Tennessee, my friend. And that's where I'm located, McMinn County, Tennessee. If you ever buy, I was just telling Jorge, I wish I could just invite everybody down here and buy them a house along this road and could all be in the same area. But we won't be hippies, though. We won't be a hippie commune or anything like that. But we will. Now, speaking of hippie communes, they were in a different way prepared. They were living off the land. They were working with each other. They were sharing what they had, but they went a little too far with it. I'm not a communist or a Marxist or socialist or anything like that. Catholic Church is certainly involved with Christian Marxism. Did a podcast on that. But that's what the Bible calls us to really do, is to be here for one another in any way shape we can. So I urge everyone to find someone local, even though it's very hard. If you can just find one person. And the online, too, is good. But all those things, I think when people just stay online only and not even attempt. Now, if you're attempting and it's not working as well, you just keep trying. You keep praying. I believe the Lord brings people to people. Just keep on praying. That's really what it is, and you'll get there. But being prepared, we can all be prepared. Every one of us has the ability on some level to be prepared. And where you may be falling short, someone else may be able to help you. And if you're not by physically that person, one day you might want these connections for, like I spoke about earlier, is the Underground Christian Railroad. I talked about that. Oh, I'd have to ask my wife, actually. It's got to be 5 years ago. I did a video, I think, on that, talking about the fact that you have to go, that's going to happen at some point. I don't know what the code word. I don't know if it would be a fish that the Jesus fish to tell people that you're coming to town or whatever it is. And I'm a Christian too. That's going to be important. Those relationships are going to matter. I think they're really going to come in handy, and we have to be there. I tell you, we've all on some sort of level have to be prepared. We have to stop worrying about or thinking about when it's going to be instead of being prepared for when things happen. Again, I'm not saying stockpile your weapons. Excuse me. I'm not saying stockpile hundreds of AR rifles and 22s and 44s and Smith & Wesson, whether it be your MP Shield or whatever. You don't have to stockpile like a billion cans of these. It's not what I'm saying either. But you do have to work on being prepared any small way that you can. And if you're preparing because of the love of God, not fear, do not prepare out of fear. If you're preparing out of fear, you're preparing for the wrong reasons. You prepare out of love of God, knowing that He'll protect you, but you still have to prepare yourself. You can't sit on the couch eating bonbons and go, God will take care of it. No. What's your part? So I know this has gone a little over an hour. I always promise to be a little stay by under an hour, but I will leave. Miss Axe is not watching tonight, but I forgot last week to put the link to the KJV. I think, Jorge, you know the KJV 11 website there that I go to. I'll put the link in. That's where I get the gospel tracks that I use for now. There's a couple of others, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. One was, I think, was another KJV type place. The Berean tracks? No, that's not it. I forget what it's called. But I'll leave a link to that. And I haven't said what my podcast yet here is. I get worried because I don't want to try to push people over the podcast, but I'll leave a link to it in there. I go into different stuff over there. I do talk about infiltrations of government, Catholicism, all that kind of Christian Marxism. I go into different things there because Urban, you're a little newer to the channel, I think, and I wanted this channel to be about the born again Christian people and not about what I want to only talk about. And I put the topic up there, and we roll with it. And whatever we talk about during it doesn't always have to be about that particular topic. I believe in that too. I don't believe in these channels that just stick to the topic and the topic only, and follow along and shut your mouth. No, we're not doing that here. But the podcast that I have separately on the BAC network on Spotify and Breaker and all that, I do that a little bit differently. So with that, I'm a little over hours, a little longer than I like to go because I know people's time is very valuable. They have a lot of things to do. Some people have children to take care of, depending on where you are at this hour. If you're out West Coast, you're probably going to have to be getting them ready for supper and bedtime and so forth. I know, I got kids. And if you're on the East Coast, and they're hopefully already in bed or in bed like my two youngest, talking incessantly and all night long is what they do. Got to tell them to quiet down about 100 times. Well, I don't go down. Mom does 100 times. And then she sends Dad. And then apparently that works. The threat of Dad coming down that hallway. I don't beat my kids. Don't have to. They're still young enough for the guy. No, Dad's coming. All right, well, with that, I do appreciate everyone's tuning in. I will start leaving my email again. I had for a long time. I'm going to leave that because I promised to answer them. I cannot promise to answer them in 10 seconds. I will leave the link to the other podcast channel, the BAC Network. And if you want to know what BAC Network means, what BAC means, Born Again Christian. So the Born Again Christian Network. I thought it was a little slightly clever. All right, with that, gentlemen, or any ladies who are watching, I am thankful as always. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you next week, or you'll see me next week. I'll talk to you next week. God bless, and have a beautiful evening.